Hi friend, I'm Marcus here with SpeakYourMindMethod.com. So as of recording this video, probably the most recognized name in the realm of stuttering and online speech coaching is none other than Lee Lovett. And if you go to Amazon and you type in a book on stuttering, Lee Lovett's book is probably going to be near the top of your search results. And so over the past few years, Lee has gained quite a bit of popularity, and while many people who stutter have found his method to be helpful, and that includes me to an extent, there are some things that I disagree with Mr. Lovett on, and that is kind of what I want to touch on today. Now, if Mr. Lee Lovett happens to see this video at some point, then hello. Don't worry if I make any jokes or have any harsh criticisms. It's nothing personal, and I really do appreciate all the work that you've done to help many people become fluent. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead, let's dive in, and let's do a little critiquing of Lee Lovett's method and approach to helping people rise above stuttering. Here we go. Now, to get this started, the first thing I'm going to do is I pulled up a video straight from Lee Lovett's YouTube channel where he is coaching. This is like a live recording of a Zoom call. And so let's give this a watch and let's kind of see if we can gain some insights into how Lee Lovett's mind works and how he approaches helping people with their stutter.
Look, there's only two ways to have a bad incident. One is getting stuck on an individual word that's hard to say. But if you know crutches 1 through 8, you don't need to know them all. It's good to know them all, but I mean, if you know a few of them, there's no words that you can't say.
Now, I mostly agree with this in that, by the way, when he says crutches, many of you watching this have heard of Lee Lovett before, so you know what he's talking about. This is very close to what I call tools and what other people have called tricks or just techniques. These are just ways of speaking in which we change one thing or another, or we add a certain approach, such as maybe stretching out the words a bit, or maybe articulating a bit, or maybe whispering to kind of get it started. So many different tricks or tools, or as Lee Lovett calls them, crutches, that we can use. And these are especially useful in the short to medium term to really get you out of the basement of stuttering. It really gives you the confidence and the feeling of, oh, wait, I have options now.
I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Have you had any bad incidents since? And if not, can you tell me about the bad incident that you referred to in that email?
Sure. So I joined a new job and it was all a very new environment, and they just asked me to introduce myself, and I started hello, and then I was like, I'm stuck. And then
okay, where was this? Where was this?
Okay, first of all, I'm annoyed at Lee here for interrupting because it's a very, very sensitive topic to share, right? And even just watching her say that, hearing her say that, it brings all of our empathy out, right? Because we've all been in situations like that. Every one of us who has ever stuttered, we know that feeling, especially when you're meeting a bunch of new people and you want to give off a good impression. When you have such an obvious moment like that, like introducing yourself, that's tough, man. That's really, really tough. Come on, Lee, just let her finish her story, please.
All right, now, tell me. So you blocked on the name, and then the conversation didn't go well after that. Is that it?
Yes, coach. Yeah. At that time, I became very anxious and I started to sweat like anything.
Okay.
And
here again, oh my God, she's trying to express these details about these bad experiences, and he keeps interrupting her, and it's just really annoying for me to watch.
It's understandable.
Oh God, come on, just let her talk.
It's understandable. It's not a crime, and you shouldn't feel guilty or bad or anything else. What speech plan would you have used after you said that word? What speech plan would you have used for the rest of what you had to say?
So I have been using speech plan 8, 9, and 10, I am using these three interchangeably to have a conversation. So
Your speech
sometimes,
plan is. What is it? What do you think? Tell me what you think.
She is telling you what she thinks.
so I could have
You don't think eight,
She's trying to explain herself, and he's like jumping in. I'm sorry, this stuff really annoys me.
9, or 10. You don't think eight, Ash, you don't think 8, 9, or 10. You think something specific. What do you think? You
voice
don't think the
modulation.
number 8. The number 8 means nothing. 9 means nothing.
Yeah, but no, it does mean something. She was referring to, I think, crutch number 8, crutch number 9, crutch number 10. That's shorthand for those things. Yes, it means something. What are you talking about?
Nothing. 10 means nothing. What do you think when you're using your speech plan?
I should not plan my words.
See how she doesn't know how to respond to the question? I also wouldn't know how to respond to that question because I'm like, I don't know. It seems like you're trying to ask me a question that you know exactly what my answer should be, but I'm not sure. There are many different answers I could give here, and I'm not sure what's going to be the right one to please what you want me to say here. And so when she doesn't have the right, or in his mind, the correct answer here, he does not find that to be a pleasant response.
You don't have a speech plan. That's the truth. You don't have one. You don't have one.
No, coach, I
So dramatic. You don't have one. You don't have one. You don't have one. It's just not there. It's never coming back. It's never there. It never was. Never will be.
It's not enough to think you shouldn't plan your words. That's what you should.
She never suggested that that was the only thing that she was trying to do. She was answering a question and trying to answer it in a concise, relatively clear way.
I'm asking you what you should do.
humbling
should
stuff.
stutter,
I
either,
have been
But that's
using
not a.
He keeps interrupting her, which drives me crazy. It's like, dude, why are you dominating this conversation here? Like, this is not, you're not the coach of a high school football team. And I know he knows that. And I'm not trying to be an asshole here. But when you're one-on-one with a client, and it really doesn't matter what the niche is, the person doing the coaching or doing the teaching should not be speaking this much. This is too much. This is way too much of an imbalance. And I still don't really, I have so little information on what she has been doing, on what she has tried or what she's worked, because he keeps coming in and interrupting it. So just from a purely coaching style perspective, I'm just not a fan. It's like, you gotta let her do the talking here. You gotta wait to jump in until she's done trying to explain herself and answer the questions. He's very, very, very quick to jump in and offer solutions and offer advice and try to coach her up. But it's like, that is such a small part of your job as a speech coach.
Make it real simple. Short, link, stop. That's what's in your mind.
Okay. How is that different? That's just a tool, right? Short, link, stop, and I think he's going to elaborate on those, where it's a combination of tools. How is that different than what she said earlier about 8, 9, and 10? That's my speech plan. And then he jumps in, that ain't a plan. You don't have a speech plan. Here's what it should be. Also 3 things that are probably related anyway to what she was doing. Oh, God.
Short. What does short mean? What does it mean?
What does it mean? Like and subscribe to my channel and go buy all my stuff.
Short. What keeps it short?
Okay, as she is trying to come up with an answer, I have to also mention this. There is such a stark contrast in sort of energy, in loudness of speech tone or volume, and just the overall vibe of the coach versus the client, which that'll always happen to an extent or almost always, but it should not be to this extreme. And I think this comes back to what I critiqued earlier, which is Lee's talking a lot, like a lot. He should not be talking this much. That's the first thing. But also, what you miss out on when you talk so much is, one, you don't get to hear the full string of thoughts and feelings that the client has, in this case her. And then what comes along with that as well is you miss out on the opportunity to actually use a little bit of mirroring to adjust and adapt to the person that you're talking to. This is one-on-one. Again, this is not a speech in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. This is not a lecture. This is not a sports team that you're coaching. This is one-on-one. So the vibe has to be one-on-one. And so just to give you an example, like when you go out and you socialize with people and you talk to people in a one-on-one environment, you and I do not really find it attractive when we meet people and they immediately impose their vibe on us without checking what our vibe is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I want to feel at least somewhat understood. And so if you're going to come up to me and talk to me, pay attention to me. Now, I should also be doing the same thing. I should be trying to read, okay, what is the energy? What is the vibe? What is the volume of this person's speech? How can I kind of come down to their level or up to their level if I need to raise my energy? But you want to the best of your ability, meet in the middle somewhere. And I feel like Lee is just not doing that here. He's just on his mission. And it's like the client is just along for the ride when it should be a more like, okay, let me listen to, okay, what is going on in your mind? Tell me about your experiences. And then just sit there and let her speak. And then when she's done with a thought, then you can start to be more precise and more exact with the approach. So again, this is more of a stylistic thing. Maybe I'm being mean here, but it really does bother me. And I'm just not a big fan of that style.
Keeps it short. Okay.
Stop.
So after
Stop.
Oh God. Okay, he's being so loud and so like aggressive with this.
What does stop mean? You need to do this
24/7.
24 hours a day.
I get it. It's hyperbole. Obviously, he doesn't mean literally 24 hours. We sleep for like 8 hours, so you're not going to be speaking during that time. But it's not realistic. This is everything that you do when it comes to improving your speech is about growth. It's about the ups and the downs. You're going to have all of those. There's no such thing as this like 24 hours a day being on track from the get-go, from when you're starting to work on your speech plan, to then be able to constantly access those new things that you're trying to implement. That's just not going to happen. I don't care how good of a client you are, you're not going to be able to do that. Now, we want to work up to it, and I get it. That's kind of the goal. It's more of a hyperbolic, crazy goal that we want to get as close to it as we can. It's kind of a shoot for the stars, and if you don't make it, you'll land on the moon type of thing, I suppose. But I don't really see how that's necessary to even bring it, because it's so extreme. This is just not how the process works. You have moments where you remember to perhaps speak in a bit more articulated way, if that really helps you, or maybe stretching out the words, or maybe linking the words together. Whatever the tools or the crutches that you like and that have been the most helpful, you're not going to remember to use them all the time. You're just not, especially when you're starting out. Eventually, as it becomes very habitual and you start to develop automatic fluency habits, then that becomes more or less your default. Or no, not more or less, that does become your default. That's my default now. Yes, I'll have hiccups. Yes, there's still kind of that underlying tendency to stutter that I still have, as I've mentioned multiple times on this channel. But my default mode now is to just automatically speak fluently. But I didn't get there by 24 hours a day being perfect with my approach, or always having my crutch at the front of my mind. That's not how it's going to work. This is growth. There are ups and downs. There are good days, there are bad days, and then you work your way slowly towards accumulating small successes, which then turns into big successes. But this is a bit of an exaggeration here.
Until it's like you know it like the back of your hand.
I hate that analogy. And I'm not picking on Lee here about that because everybody still uses that analogy, but it's the stupidest analogy because I don't know the back of my hand. I forget who it was, but there's a comedian who had a bit about this, about like, I couldn't pick out the back of my hand in a police lineup. I think it may have been Jim Gaffigan or somebody. And it's like, it's true. I don't know what the back of my hand looks like. And so it's a stupid analogy, but I'm just being annoying. I'm just being an annoying asshole at this point.
Look, Ash, the minute you prove to yourself that you can do this at work or anywhere else, the problem is going to start to die. It's going to break up. It's going to vaporize. You're going to wonder why you ever had a problem.
That is, I think, a really good way of putting how it starts to become, like, it really does start to break up. And as you start to build the confidence, you're like, oh, wait, you'll go a week and all of a sudden realize that you barely thought about stuttering that week. And I know that sounds crazy. That probably sounds crazy to you if you are still in deep with stuttering and blocking. You would be surprised how quickly you adapt to becoming fluent. It's kind of wild, actually. But we are very quick to forget about things. And when you start to accumulate that confidence and start to not be as concerned about it, you'll go about your days and all of a sudden you'll be like a week past and you barely thought about stuttering. Like, that's when you know things are really heading in the right direction. That's when you know you're building that new habit and it's becoming stronger. So it is a beautiful thing. And it's my favorite part of doing what I do. And this is also what Lee helps people do as well.
Until you can use your speech plan 24 hours a day. Do you? You don't. Don't tell me you do, because I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
No,
Oh, damn, he's being he's being a little
coach. No,
extra
I
here.
am not using it.
Okay,
Only
so
when he-
you got to do that.
Oh my God, he's interrupting her. This is driving me crazy. I need to move on to the next part of this video soon because this is really getting under my skin,
You
guys.
understand. You have to do it.
Okay, so now that we've caught a glimpse of Lee Lovett's style and how he approaches stuttering in a one-on-one setting with a student, what I want to do now is segue into discussing a few things I really like about Lee Lovett's method and also a few things I'm not a big fan of. Okay, so 3 things I like, 3 things I don't. That's what I'm going to share with you now. So the first thing I really like about Lee Lovett's method is the crutches concept, especially as it relates to short-term growth and medium-term growth for people wanting to rise above stuttering. So I call them tools, Lee Lovett calls them crutches, and neither of us came up with them. And so these have been around for ages, right? We just all have different names for them, but these are just basically different tools, crutches, different things we can lean on to give us the sense and the feeling. And this is what's really powerful about tools, is it gives you that feeling that you have options. You're not stuck with having to say it this way. You have some alternate routes that you can use. Now, the second thing I really like about Lee Lovett's method is it's how he encourages people to, you could say, take responsibility for their own actions and actually go and achieve the fluency if that's what you want. He gives you the feeling that it's okay to have this ambition of not wanting to be a stutterer. It's okay to want to become fluent. And so he kind of pushes back against the other side, which tends to be more like, just accept it, learn to stutter on purpose, just let it happen, all of these things. Look, it's okay to take responsibility for your own speech, to really pursue a path of fluency. When you reach it, it is beautiful. It's amazing because you feel like you've won a gold medal. You got there, you hit the target, you accomplished what you set out to do. It's a beautiful thing. And I am so grateful that I took that lane of like, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I learn how to speak fluently. And I'm going to make sure I make that my habit. And that's what I did. Yes, it took quite a while. There were a gazillion ups and downs, but I did it. And many other people have as well. But you're not going to do that most likely if you take the other, you could say, risk-averse approach of like, well, just I'll accept it and that'll kind of help me a little bit, but that's not going to get you the peak heights of fluency. It's not going to give you mastery with your speech. And what I want for you guys is mastery. I want, hell of a speech fluency. That's what we're after here. And so, yes, I agree with Lee on this. Now, the third thing that I really like about Lee Lovett's method is that simply he truly has helped a lot of people. Plain and simple. At the end of the day, I can disagree with his theatrics. I can disagree with his coaching style, but results are the most important thing, and getting your students results. And he does that on a quite consistent basis. And so for that, I have nothing but kind words to say. That's what matters the most at the end of the day. And I really do like that about Lee Lovett and his method. However, there are some things with Lee Lovett and his method that do make me feel a bit queasy and make me feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. Let's put it that way. Okay. 3 things I don't like. Number 1, I don't like his book. And the book I'm referring to is this one, Stuttering and Anxiety Self-Cures. The one I got, it's the 3rd edition. The problem I have with this book, first of all, is, look, here's my biggest problem. It's this thick. There's so much fluff and so much extra stuff in here that does not need to be in here. This book should be like this big. It should be this big. It should not be over 500 pages long. There's just way too much fluff. And he even mentions, which is weird because it's the 3rd edition. I'm like, you still didn't have time to edit it down after the first 2, and the 3rd edition is still largely seems unedited. It's just unorganized. It's not an entertaining read at all, which for a book that isn't a purely science book, it's more of a, you could say, pragmatic book of, hey, here is a hands-on approach to helping you beat stuttering. If that's the book you're writing, I would much prefer, as a reader, make it more interesting, make it more concise, get to the point. And I don't think it's as much of this isn't a criticism as much on his writing as it is the lack of editing. It's like, dude, edit it down. That book should be 25% its size. And what's weird to me is that, so he has mentioned multiple times, I've heard him say this on video, that he works with people for free 7 days a week. So basically every day of the week, he's getting on Zoom calls with people and helping people for free with their stuttering. And the thing about that is, like, first of all, maybe if you took a day or 2 off, maybe 5 days a week, I think 5 days is plenty, man, to be able to just give free coaching to as many people as possible. 5 days a week is pretty damn good. Maybe you could use that extra 1 or 2 days to, I don't know, edit your book down. That's going to be going out to way more people than you can help in a one-on-one setting. Why not make the book better? So I'm just not a fan of his book, or really any other book on stuttering, to be honest. And if you think that maybe we should change that here at Speak Your Mind method, it's been on my mind more or less. So maybe at some point in the future, we can be the one stuttering book that's maybe okay. So if you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, his book, that's the first thing I don't like that I wanted to mention here. The second thing I'm not a big fan of when it comes to Lee Lovett's method, or kind of the way that he approaches his method, is the ambiguity around his coaching being free. But is it free? Is it not free? It's kind of free sometimes, but not always. It's just like the ambiguity, the is it or is it not? It's not very clear, because like even in his books, he'll say he helps people for free, he doesn't charge, blah, blah, blah. And which I commend. That's obviously, it would be stupid for me to talk shit about that. I'm not going to talk down on Lee Lovett for really helping people for free. I assume that he is financially stable enough to where I think he's largely retired. So I assume he has a stable amount of, or I assume he's stable financially, and therefore he doesn't feel like he needs money, and therefore he just helps people as much as he can for free. But the problem is, though, it's more the messaging and the ambiguity around it, because then when too many people started to learn about Lee and want to get coaching from him, well, there was too many people to help. And then that's when he started to bring on, other coaches, or at least connected to him under sort of his umbrella, if you will. And of course, they needed to make a living. So then if you get coaching with them, then there is some money that needs to be paid for it. Now, I have a specific problem with a comment in particular, and wow, that was a weird way. I'll try to show it on the screen when I edit this. But he was responding to a comment, and he literally said that he helps people for free because it's just his time. And then he was like, but these other coaches that have been tutored under Lee Lovett's method, they work, and this is what he said, for babysitters' wages. And I was just like, oh my God, why are you saying it like that's a good thing? That you want your coaches that are giving transformation and helping people find transformation in their speech, you want them to be getting low wages, like as if that's a good thing? It's just, this is what I'm talking about. It's like it's free, that's the brand, but then it's not quite free, but it's almost free. They work for babysitters' wages. And I'm just like, God damn it. This is not how it should be. Like a few years ago, I needed help with my voice in the singing department. And I found this coach, and he helped me tremendously. So it was over Zoom, much like my clients will meet with me. And he helped me so much, and I paid him well for it. And during that time, and especially the years following, his business kept growing, and he was making multiple six figures a year doing that. And that makes me happy. That's how it should be, because he got me real results. I really improved my singing voice through working with him. I wouldn't want my friend, his name's Tyler Wysong, I wouldn't want him to be making babysitters' wages over there, just running around, making the bare minimum, charging the least amount of money for his coaching. I'm just not a fan of that sort of rhetoric. That's sort of, you're putting that out there. And look, I get it. I think it's good that there are coaches out there that offer their services at a very low price. Not all of us can afford high price coaching. Now, if you follow me and you've seen my prices, maybe they're too expensive, maybe you think they're reasonable, maybe you think they're too low, wherever you are on that spectrum. One, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel the need to go to a comment and say, well, actually, I'm, making babysitters' wages, or I'm barely making enough money to make a living, and therefore this is why I charge XYZ. I don't feel the need to do that. I can charge whatever the hell I want, because one reason is because it's my business, and I'm putting a lot on the line by going all in on this thing with nobody to back me up. There's nothing that I can fall back on in terms of like a big investor or something that's going to bail me out. No, it's just me. I got to make this work. But also, I make so much stuff available for free. All my YouTube videos, I have a free workshop that you can find on my website. And that helps me to be like, okay, I don't need to feel guilty for charging money for getting people transformation. And so that's my approach. That's how I view it. There are lots of things that I can't afford that I wish I could, but I can't. And so therefore, I have to find alternatives. In much the same way, if you can't afford my coaching, I get it. I get it. But then it's like, go and devour all my free stuff. Get every last drop out of it. That's what you can do. That's what's there for free. And so, yeah, that's the second thing I don't like. the ambiguity around his coaching. It's like, it's free. That was his brand. And then he moved his stuff to his website, and then it was not so free anymore. And then that got kind of people, because it was an off-brand move and all of that. And so just not a big fan. It's kind of mucky. It gets a bit mucky or murky when you put out there this ideal of, hey, it's free, or this vision, or this is how you run things, and then you have to change that branding. Don't be shocked when people start to complain about it. So yeah, that's the second thing I don't like. The third thing I don't like, to bring this home, is I would say his method is almost entirely centered around crutches, as we talked about, which is not entirely a bad thing. But the reason I don't like that is because I think that there's just a better way. There's a higher road that is available for us to take with our speech. I would say there's a lack of holistic thinking. There's a lack of really trying to master your entire self, master your psychology, really take a good look at what you want your life to look like. And yes, speech is one of those things, but don't just focus on speech. Focus on speech as you move towards your career that is your dream, as you move towards the education that you want, as you move towards whatever things you want to do with your life. Make it a holistic thing, not just speech without the support of these other areas. You need this holistic view. You need the support from these other areas of your life, and you need to move them in this positive direction, where you get almost this very positive inertia and this energy towards this place where you find both fluency, and then as you are working towards becoming excellent in these other areas as well, and building really good habits in other areas of your life, it just compounds. You become really strong mentally, psychologically, all of these things. And you're not going to get that just by using some crutches. So this is more of a critique on the ceiling, I would say, of Lee Lovett's method. It's a very good, like, crutches, as I've said, they're very, very good, but I haven't really heard him talk much beyond that, whether that be in his book or in his YouTube videos. There needs to be more. We need to take a more holistic view. We need to really focus on not only being fluent in social settings, but also having really good social skills as well, and building those as we build fluency. So in closing, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that Lee Lovett does get many of his students' results. So I commend him for that, and that is what matters the most. There are things I disagree with him on. I think his coaching style, especially aesthetically, stylistically, it's a bit off-putting. It's not my style. It's not what I would like as a student if I was his student. And especially because the reason I keep harping on that is because, dude, like, at the end of the day, we need empathy, man. We need empathy, dude. It's so hard year after year, just grinding it out, dealing with stuttering and blocking. We don't need a coach who's going to pound the table and speak 10 times louder than us when we're in a session with him. We need somebody who sits there and listens. And then when you're done talking, they really pay attention, and the coach gives you and helps and guides you and holds your hand and helps you build a plan and find the solutions that work. I'm not saying Lee Lovett doesn't have empathy. I just think that he needs to talk a lot less when he's in a one-on-one session, and he needs to let the client just talk and let them finish their thoughts. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a stutterer or not. We just want to feel understood. And so if we get cut off, we feel like, not so understood, you know? So I would say that's the biggest area where I think Lee Lovett's method lacks. It's not so much the method as it is how the method is packaged, you could say. I like the contents inside the package, but the wrapping paper, the way it's presented, is a bit suboptimal. Okay, so finally, if you want to dive deeper into my method, if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to support me, because I have this very urgent need to have 10 luxury vacations every year, at minimum, and these cost at least $50,000 per vacation, 10 times a year. So I need more clients, like a lot more. So go buy my most expensive coaching, and even buy my course on top of that, and then do everything else, or even just send me money on PayPal. That would be amazing. I'm just kidding, guys. If you want something, if you want to get started for free, I have my Stop Stuttering workshop. Link is in the description. I also have levels of programs if you want to go check that out. Everything from a self-study program that you can go through yourself, from one-on-one coaching where we meet every week or every other week, depending on the plan and the program that you get. It's all there. Go check it out at speakyourmindmethod.com. Yes, it's a sales pitch. Yes, as I said before, I don't care if, I hope that I can make a living off of this and make a good living, because if I don't, then I won't be on YouTube anymore. So yeah. And I need to be able to take those 10 vacations, because life isn't worth living if I can't live in extreme luxury, So go buy my stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.